What a game. I've said this in previous videos, but can you ask for more from a series? The back and forth, the scrappiness, there seems like there's bad blood between these teams now. And this was almost a reverse game one where Indiana had control of the game for most of it and OKC stole it in the fourth. And they really did it in an impressive way with defense and with SGA's fourth quarter performance. It's crazy to think that if Haliburton doesn't hit that game one game winner, this is a 3-1 series in favor of OKC. But wow, what a series so far. But let's talk about the beginning of the game. So just in the first quarter, here's what I was thinking. OKC came out showing a lot of help defense. And the thing is, sometimes that's extremely effective for the Thunder, but this time it kind of seemed like they weren't trusting their guys to play defense. That led to 4 early three-pointers shot by the Pacers in that first quarter. But thanks to guys like J-Dub, they were able to maintain and weather the storm. J-Dub had 12 points in that first quarter and was really aggressive getting into the paint. And before the game started to settle down a little bit, there were several possessions where they were turning the ball over back and forth. I think some of the ball movement plays, some of the drives to the rim, the ISOs they got Siakam, it really stood as a testament in the first quarter of the cohesion that the Pacers have. They truly represent a well-built team where it feels like every player complements the next, but at the same time, OKC is that same build. In some ways, it kind of felt like OKC looked tired in the first quarter, and it felt like the Pacers had control, but to end the first quarter, the Thunder were just down by 1. Another thing that seemed clear in that first quarter is one of the disadvantages the Thunder face is that the Pacers can play a lineup with no big when Miles Turner goes to the bench. And that's when Chet's on the floor on the other side because he really can't create mismatches against Pascal Siakam or even Obi Toppin. So the Pacers were able to go small and have some of the advantages physically. Then in the second quarter, it seemed like OKC adjusted their strategy just a little bit. They were attacking the rim hard in that second quarter and late in the first quarter. But the thing is, the Pacers were also fouling them pretty hard on those attacks. That resulted in a semi-controversial Obi Toppin flagrant foul, where he also got a tech, by the way. And then, of course, Lou Dort got the flagrant foul later on Obi Toppin. But the point is, it was getting really scrappy. Guys were playing really hard. It seems like these guys at this point are sick of each other. And it really started to turn into a finals where you really saw the competitive edge come out. Oh, and by the way, Tyrese Haliburton finally got a free throw in the finals on an N1 shot. I mean, it only took 127 minutes, but there it is. Now, in quarter 3, that's where it really started to look like OKC was tired, just gassed. Even for Shea, he seemed pretty worn down to me. Now, I know he was scoring in the third quarter, but I think his decision-making, his playmaking, it really took a hit. He was playing almost a selfish brand of basketball, and that's not the kind of game he needs to play if OKC is going to be competitive. In the first half, he had 0 free throws, and then he got some in the third. But again, it just looked like these guys were, worn down, bogged down, just really poor decision-making. And it starts with Shea, and then J-Dub also had some of those things going for him. But the guy we have to talk about in the third quarter is Obi Toppin. There was a point where OKC started to get some momentum, and then Obi Toppin hit back-to-back threes, and he also had a really nice dunk off a great pass from Siakam. He had some big defensive plays, including a block on J-Dub at the end of the shot clock. Just a really good third quarter, really good game by Obi Toppin. But at the same time, even though it felt like the Pacers were in control, OKC was only down by 7 at that point. Then to start the fourth quarter, OKC came out with the energy. They cut the lead to 3 pretty quickly. SGA had several steals, and they seemed like they were getting back to their pressurized defense, really the staple of what their team is. And then eventually they tied the game with a free throw from Caruso, and it was back and forth a lot from there. Shea also settled in on offense in that fourth quarter. He started passing the ball more and was getting a lot more easier looks coming to him. And then you have to give credit to Chet also, who had a really good start to that fourth quarter. He had a big putback dunk and was all over the place on the offensive glass, it seemed like. But at the same time, for the Pacers, Tyrese Haliburton had a couple tough layups that either extended the lead to 2 or tied it, but a couple big shots for their leader. But then everything shifted. The last few minutes, the last half, we'll say, of the fourth quarter was all OKC. I mean, Shea's offense was unbelievable. I think he finished with 35 points. Their defense was back to what they usually are. So SGA hit a tough three to keep that game close, and then he hit that nasty baseline two-pointer, and I think that was the first time they had the lead in the second half. It was kind of strange because Indiana kind of went to a bunch of ISO ball, almost playing OKC style of offense, which is not their game. They don't have the guys to do that, except for in spurts with guys like Nembhard and I guess sometimes Halliburton, but he struggled with it in the fourth there. And then also I have to mention Benedict Mathurin. You got to make free throws, and those were some bad fouls. But all the credit goes to Shea. I mean, it was rough for some of that game. I thought his playmaking, his decision-making was poor for a lot of the game, but he came through when it counted and showed why he's one of the best, if not the best scorer in the league. That fourth quarter was amazing by him. And then their defense, again, just great. Now, just reflecting on the game as a whole, this is interesting because it was from start to finish, it felt like Indiana had control of the game, even when it was close at times, until the last few minutes. It was almost a reverse of game one, where Indiana didn't have a great game for most of it, and then in the fourth quarter, they stepped up, especially at the end, and it ended with that Halliburton game winner. This was something similar where OKC seemed like they were off, they were tired, they were slow, and this was all Pacers for most of it, but at the end, when it mattered most, OKC came through in the clutch. I do want to say for Nembhard, I think he's been great on the defensive end and at times on the offensive end as well. He's done a great job on Shea. Of course, there's only so much you can do with that level of talent, but wow, what a game. I'm not sure who's going to win this series. It's best of three now, being tied at 2-2. I think a lot of people will go back and favor OKC, but I think the Pacers have shown that they're here to play, that they belong. But let me know in the comments who you have winning this series. How many games are left? Is OKC going to close this out? Are the Pacers going to? Or is this going 7 games? Again, please let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching Sports Pantheon.